Hey there, friends at home and around the world. It is Lydia here, and I'm glad to be back with you again. So today I am making kombucha and doing some dishes. You can see that mountain of dishes sitting on the counter behind me there above the dishwasher. But first I gotta start with this kombucha and get that going. So I'm just tasting these jars to see if they taste right. I've had to learn. My first batch was well on its way to becoming vinegar, so it was quite tart. And that stuff was a little tough to drink, but it went down like medicine, and it went down. We did experiment with all kinds of things, adding some orange juice and sugar and all kinds, and we did eventually drink it all, but that stuff was a little tougher to drink. So here now we have found that if it sits about 5 to 7 days, depending on how it tastes, then it works well. I have been going with two 2-liter jars, but now I am going to be splitting up my scobies so that I can have 4 2-liter jars going. I guess technically they're not quite 2 liters, they're 1.9 liters, but it is just easier to say 2 liters, so that's what I'm going to be calling them. Now, as I'm straining out these scobies, I will warn you, I have made a mess many times with this in the past. If that SCOBY falls out near the beginning of emptying that jar, then whoosh, all of a sudden that kombucha hits that SCOBY and just starts spraying everywhere if I'm not on the ball and paying attention. So I've made that mess multiple times. Fair warning, if you're gonna try this, watch out for when that SCOBY falls. So anyways, so that little mushroom fungus looking thing in there, that is the SCOBY. And I always need to keep a little bit of the kombucha starter for my next batch. Now as I'm making this though to drink, we have found that our favorite way to drink kombucha is with 1 can of frozen concentrate per every 2 2-liter jars. I just have an old apple cider jar here, apple cider juice, not vinegar. This is from juice that we bought once a long time ago, and it works well for getting all of this mixed together. And then yes, I am just refilling an Arbor Mist wine bottle. It works perfect. It's easy for the kids to handle. I haven't quite figured out what the trick is here, because some days I can fill it right to the top without waiting for the foam there to calm down, which it doesn't take long. It's a couple seconds and then the foam calms down and then I can fill it up a little more, but sometimes it doesn't happen at all and I can fill it right to the top in the first shot. But whatever, so that's that. Now I'm just gonna let it sit there for a bit. Technically at this point I could have put those jars with the starter and the SCOBY back in my pantry already, but I'm just gonna get going on the dishes here first, because I want to get the next batch of tea brewing. Now, as I said, this is pretty simple, so I'm making a double batch, and a double batch just barely perfectly fits into this soup pot. So it's going to be 28 cups of water, and I can include the recipe in the description box. So 28 cups of water, 2 cups of sugar. I have not experimented yet with doing honey, although I've heard that people do it, but so far I'm just sticking with sugar because I've been more interested in playing around with different aspects of the kombucha. A lot of the recipes that I found online had quite a few more tea bags. The first recipe I was following had 8 tea bags per recipe, and that was awfully strong for us. We didn't really enjoy the first couple batches, so I've toned it down to 10 just red rose tea bags for 28 cups of water. Alright, so now I'm just gonna try to get this dishwasher loaded the rest of the way, and it's not quite full enough to run yet, but at least my sink is empty. And that strainer that I was using, I basically only use it for kombucha most of the time, and so I'm just giving it a rinse. It just kind of catches some of the scum that sits there under the scobies, and so I just rinse that off and let it air dry right back in my cupboard. We have been joking that we need to go buy another bottle of Arbor Mist wine or some other wine that comes in that size of a bottle, so that we can have 2 bottles like that sitting in the fridge instead of this big cider jar. Now, to some degree, it's not really a joke because most of us have come to love this kombucha so much that making a batch doesn't even last us a week. 2 batches like this we can drink easily in 1 to 3 days. It's crazy. The oldest 3 and myself, we will drink this kombucha in 1 to 3 days flat. Like, it just flies through our house. To my understanding, and I haven't done a whole lot of research on this, so if you want to know a lot more of the science behind it all, there are a lot of websites out there, but I just liked the idea of being able to drink probiotics in a juice type form rather than swallowing a pill. For myself, I could swallow a pill, but my kids would not want to unless absolutely necessary, and so this is a much easier way of giving them juice and probiotics all in one shot. And in the future, I'm really excited this next summer to try to make a whole lot more fruit juices from scratch myself and throw them in the freezer, like make my own frozen juice concentrates, and that way I'm not even buying those anymore and I have even more control of the sugar content. Another option is to strain your kombucha, strain that SCOBY out of there, and then pour the kombucha itself over fruit for 2 to 3 days. We have done that as well, and there are different variations that have worked. We have used frozen fruits and dried fruits, for example raisins, craisins, a dried fruit snack mix like I think there was apricots and plums and apples and forget what the other thing was in there, but it was good. But this has just become our favorite. This is the next morning. I'm scooping out the tea bags now so that I can start filling those other jars. Alright, so here we go. So kombucha does need to be made in glass or cultured in glass jars, but I can totally cook up the tea in my stainless steel pot and use a plastic measuring cup just for transporting it around. So I am putting it into the jars here, and I have my starter liquid in there just as you saw before I put it away yesterday. And then once I have this all done, I'm going to put the covers back on. So that's as simple as a piece of paper towel or a coffee filter. I'm using both, either or, and I do not change those every single time. I only change them once they start looking really gross, and I do try to wipe the tops of the jars and keep them cleaner so that those covers do stay usable for longer. If you have the paper towels that are already kind of the half size, then that works. Otherwise, I don't, so I have just cut some in half and now they can go back. Kombucha wants to culture in indirect light or complete darkness, so that's what I'm going to do here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!